Hi there, it's Laurel with the Blitsy Creative Team, and I'm here today to show you a little bit about this product called the Pico Irresistible Accents. I'm going to be going in with a couple of different colors just to create some little dimensions here, and this is the tag I'm going to be making in this video. These are the two colors that I'm going to be using, and it's again the Pico Irresistible Embellishers. And I'm going to be working with some Fawn products today as well. And I'm going to create a tag. I usually make cards, but I thought today I'd change it up and be a little daring and make a tag. So I've got this little clear tag here, and I'm inking it up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It's a pigment ink. Because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring, I'm going to go ahead and heat set that. Because that Onyx Black ink is a pigment ink stays wet longer, so I'm able to do some very quick heat embossing. You can see that I'm going ahead and stamping the inside of the tag as well, so I can do all of my embossing at one time. The ink will stay wet for, I don't know, I don't smear it with my finger for many minutes after it's said and done. So this process of getting all these stamped images onto this tag probably took at least a minute, and I'm still going to be able to do some heat embossing because I'm using this black pigment ink. So I've gone ahead and stamped the little image inside the tag, and then I've got the little 2 and the love, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some clear embossing powder, and as you can see, that embossing powder is going to stick right to it because that ink is still wet. Now I am heat embossing because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring, and anytime I do watercoloring I always heat emboss or heat set my images because it keeps those images nice and crisp. Because sometimes when you do a little bit of watercoloring it can overshadow your inked image and then it fades it out a little bit, and I like to have really crisp lines when I do watercoloring. And also because we heat set that image, it almost acts as a little tiny wall, so it helps keep all your watercolor kind of contained inside your images. So I'm going to be doing some watercolor with some Faber-Castell gelatos, which I absolutely love. That is a color called Iced Chai. I'm just going in and doing very, very, very simple watercoloring. And I've got 2 different colors. That is chocolate. So I've got the light brown, which is Iced Chai, and the darker brown, which is chocolate. You can go in and very easily add some shading. I tend to prefer watercoloring over any other kind of coloring, like that you can do with the Copics and whatnot, or alcohol markers, because with watercoloring it's so forgiving. You can go and kind of add and take away easily, and then that water does a lot of the work for you. So that's why you guys see me watercolor so much instead of doing the marker. I have the markers, I'm just definitely not an expert at it. So I mean, I'm not an expert at watercoloring either, but I just find that it's easier. So if you've ever wanted to get into coloring, watercoloring might be an option for you, and there's a lot of different products out there that you can watercolor with. Like, I know a lot of people that use these gelatos didn't realize that you could watercolor with them, but you can. And with the gelatos, once they are dry completely, they are permanent. You don't need to add any kind of fixative or anything over the top. Once they're dry, they are good to go. So I'm going in, just, you could have colored in this little mushroom house with crazy colors and made it a super fun mushroom house if you wanted to. The sky's the limit. So freeing, you can be, artistic and create all, you got all kinds of the sky's the limit. You can do whatever colors you want to. So I've got that nice in color. I'm going to zap that with my heat gun real quick just to help speed up the drying process here. This particular tag has a die that goes with it, but this would also be one that you could easily, fussy cut by hand if you wanted to. But I've got the die, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. And the die also will kind of cut out a little circle there at the top where you put the string through for your tag. So I'll be using that in a second. I decided I wanted to go in and add some grass. So that's the gelato in the color lime. I'm just going to go in and add some grass. Or, my mushroom, my little house needed to ground. It couldn't just be like standing there free in the, just hanging out there in the middle of my tag. So you can see as I'm going in, I'm drying it as I go, basically. So there's my little coordinating tag here. Again, this is by Fawn. So I'm just going to line it up. I love, love, love these kind of tags because you can perfectly line them up. I've got a bum finger right now, so it's taking longer than it should, and it's making it look harder than it is, but it's really not. You just line up your tag here. And then I'm using that yellow tape in my hand is it's called frog tape. Actually, and it's what painters use. There's painter's tape, there's frog tape, there's all kinds of stuff, but it's a non-tacky tape, and I put that down so it stays in place when I run it through my die cutting machine, and then when I peel it off slowly, it won't tear my paper. You can use washi tape, painter's tape, surgical tape. still take care when you go to peel off your tape, because gosh, you don't want to go and rip your project after you invested this kind of time into it. And there's that little hole, the die cut that I was trying to tell you about. So I've got my little tag, and now I want to add a little bit of dimension, and that's where these little Pico Embellishers are going to come in handy. I'm using the color black and white, and I think the white is called Wedding Dress. So I always kind of pump it out a little bit just to make sure I'm not going to get a big blob coming out. And I'm just going to go around the outlines of the little circles here on the roof of this little mushroom house. Now this is totally an optional step for you here. I just like to add that little bit of dimension, and I'm not making my circles perfect, so it looks like it's something I went in and hand did, and I just, you know, I just like it. Now here's the white. This is the wedding dress, so you just kind of pop off the top. Again, I'm going off to the side. I want to make sure I've got it. See, I'm glad I did it, because it wasn't all at the tip. I would have messed up my project right there. And I like that little precision tip. You see, you can kind of create your own little squiggles. You can write words and sentiments with this, but my handwriting is atrocious, so I won't be doing that. But this is something you can totally do with that product there. So I went and added a little bit of white on that mushroom house. You can't really see it, but there it is. And see that little dimension that it leaves behind? But I decided the background of the tag was a little bit too plain for me, so I'm going to take that wedding dress again, that little Pico Embellisher, and I'm going to add a little bit of dots here and there, making sure not to go over the area where I'll write my to and from, or love rather. So I'm just going to keep that area empty, and then I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of polka dots here and there. And these little Pico Embellishers, they dry pretty quick. I wouldn't heat set these or anything. I just kind of set your project aside and let it dry, and then once it's dry, it's super cool. Got this little raised dimensional effect here on your project. And another fun thing about these Pico Embellishers is that the cap has a built-in needle, and you can see you just line up the needle and then you put it into the bottle, and it keeps your bottle from clogging, which is nice. Again, I got that bum finger, so that's why it's taking me so long. It won't take you long. So I'm carefully picking this up because I don't want to mess it up, but then giving you kind of a look at the little dots and all that dimension that Pico Embellisher adds.